Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen along with our co-host Anthony Faso. We just wrapped our interview up with Spencer Cornelia, and I would call him an entrepreneur. He's got a background in real estate and a growing kind of following in social media as well.
Yeah, great podcast. It was very different. He had a very unique experience, and I think we learned, he shared some good tidbits there. And one thing that I really liked what he shared, and we may have heard about it before, where you are the average of the five people that you hang out most. So that goes to everything. And what he was talking about, the importance, if you're going to invest in real estate, to have a good team. And he also recommended that, particularly early on, is that you go on with a partner when you're doing some investing. And it wasn't just maybe to use their money necessarily. It was to learn from them and what they are doing. I think it's really important in whatever craft you are that you do hang around your peers. Like Cameron and I are in the study group. There's about 4 or 5 other people that are big on infinite banking, and we meet once a month, share some ideas, be able to ask questions, and that I would encourage you, again, in whatever industry you are, is to get some sort of group. We call it meetings of the mind, or somewhere that can help you grow and that you can learn from.
Our group is called Meeting of the Minds in Anthony. But the takeaway that I had that I really enjoyed with Spencer is the reason I think that he's had such a growing following on social media is because he is as open and transparent as you could possibly be. And his background in real estate is he had a W-2 job. He kind of stepped out. He wanted something more. He understood that kind of that typical planning really wasn't for him. And so he went to look for something, different opportunities, found real estate, and then honestly, he got beat up, right? And so he talks about the first couple of deals that he did, and he got beat up not once, but twice. And he's open and he's sharing some of those kind of pitfalls and mistakes that he made. And I think kind of as I look back over this conversation, right, he's got this message of resilience is, hey, man, right, as I was going through this is I knew that this was not the end. Right, this is just a period of me kind of taking these lessons and learning and implement these and allowing me to grow. So it was great to see because typically anytime, we're guilty of this is we only kind of show highlight reels, right? But it's great to have Spencer on and show some of the mistakes and how people can avoid those. So I think you're going to enjoy it.
Enjoy the episode.
Take care. Spencer, man, thanks so much for joining us. We've kind of been acquainted for the last several years. So we appreciate you coming on and joining us today.
Yeah, let's have a fun episode.
Absolutely, man. If you could get started, just kind of dive into really how you kind of got started in real estate. I know your kind of W-2 background is more software engineering. What attracted you to real estate? What drew your attention that way?
I lived in the Bay Area before Las Vegas, and everyone there rents, right? Because it's really easy there to buy there, $2 million single family homes.
Yeah.
So I moved to Vegas and I was like, man, I can actually buy, I like this concept of buying versus renting. And so I was able to afford a little condo. And that was my first purchase. And I enjoyed the idea of owning. And it was around then I had depleted my cash to buy it, but I knew that real estate was something I wanted to get into. I like the concept of owning property. It's not that new of a concept, but I just liked the idea of it. And I felt like that was the strategy I wanted to go after for retirement or building wealth, whatever. And so that's when I started getting into the meetups in roughly July of 2017. We probably met around there, maybe later that year. Yeah. So once I started diving in and meeting people, and to this day, 99% of the people I've met in real estate are awesome. There just doesn't seem to be that many bad apples at all. When you go to meetups and networking events and meeting people out there striving to take on deals, or those that are doing deals, to even the people that have done a lot of deals. And so it's a great community. And I think being in that community assisted with that, right? You really wanted to pursue taking on deals to be a part of that community.
Yeah, no, I agree, right? When you get into a group of like-minded individuals, right? A lot of people that go to those are wanting something more, right? They're trying to look for kind of a non-traditional avenue to just what they've been doing. So yeah, I get along with everybody there as well. The 1% would probably be this guy, Anthony. so don't hold it against him.
He hasn't been invited back.
Spencer, I'm curious to dive a little bit deeper into what allowed you to make the change of not following, saying, typical financial planning advice. Instead, you kind of went down the avenue with real estate and being an entrepreneur. I'm kind of curious how you chose that fork in the road.
My dad's a financial advisor, and so I have experience being around someone that handles a lot of wealthy clients in that kind of arena. And for some reason, it never really appealed to me. I tried the stock market in 2015. Over a 12-month period, I made 10%, which many would classify as being a successful year. Mm-hmm. However, I took the money out. It wasn't something that I enjoyed. I didn't really like this concept of putting money into something and letting it sit, such as the stock market. I kind of wanted to be in the game. I wanted to find an angle where I could really succeed, meaning I wanted to have an angle that I could have an advantage over the market. Whereas stock market is just, I don't know how to read balance sheets better than a lot of these people doing this. And so I think when it came to real estate, I really like the concept of owning homes, but I just saw the wealth. That's probably what it really was. I saw the quickness of, which I do not like get rich easy or get rich quick schemes. But in some ways, when you get around people who are pretty good at real estate, within 5 to 10 years, you can build up a pretty legit portfolio. And I'm comfortable with risk. So this whole game of taking on risk and leveraging, it's kind of exciting.
So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so what was your first venture, right? So you 2017, right? You started kind of getting in community with everybody. What was the first deal or two that you kind of started to look at?
I had my condo, which was what you would call a house hack, where I rented the other room and was able to cut my living expenses down to about $200 to $300 a month, which here in Vegas is pretty solid. And so after doing that, I realized, okay, it's like when any venture, when you do it and you're like, okay, I see it works. I know it works because I'm doing it. Let me do more of this. And so I knew that there was something there. I didn't know the specifics of what I wanted to do within real estate, flipping, buying and holding. And so I just wanted to keep pursuing. I just wanted to be around. Thankfully, I don't know where it came from, but I just knew the value of being around people that if you have a goal, just being around people within that niche or within that industry. I've been very, very fortunate to be around a few different, very important people in my life that were a couple of steps ahead of me at whatever I wanted to pursue. And so I knew just getting in the environment, finding people that were maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of me that could kind of provide mentorship, I knew I would be able to get to where I wanted to go. It was very vague at the time. It was like looking at 5 different roads. I didn't know which one to go down, but I knew I was on the right path and in the right direction. And so I think that's where it started.
How'd you end up choosing which one to go down?
Well, I think I stumbled down it. More appropriate. So I knew I'd heard about this idea of buying lists and just writing mailers to property owners. And a lot of people talked about this idea of small multifamily, like fourplexes. And I'm going, oh man, you could get a little small apartment and have 4 units. So I just started writing mailers to property owners. And I stumbled on one who was interested in seller financing because at that moment I did not have enough for traditional financing, for a traditional down payment on an investment property. And so looking back, it just kind of happened. It's hard to say I knew what I was doing. Just maybe each step of the way, I kind of stumbled my way into finding a seller finance deal. This was the fourplex in Las Vegas that took a year to close. So my first deal didn't close until December of 2018. Took a full year to close.
Wow. So that's a long time, right? Waiting for that thing to close. It was
very stressful. What made it stressful was that I agreed to purchase it at $260,000 December of 2018, which is roughly about what it was worth, maybe actually a little bit of an overpay. By the time I closed in December of 2018, the market was so hot that I believe it was worth about $305. And so the whole time we had a verbal agreement. I'll buy it for $260, but nothing in writing. And so I'm like, after my first deal, I got this seller carry. I've got all this equity that seems to be growing by the month. And thankfully I was able to close on it and lock in that equity. But, oh man, what a long year that was.
I bet. And I just got finished watching one of your interviews on Bigger Pockets. Congratulations to being highlighted on there.
Thanks.
And one thing, if we can kind of transition to kind of that part of it, of the real estate experience is, man, I gotta say thank you for going on there and being transparent and honest. Is, this happens on our show too, as we talk about a lot of the highlight reels for a lot of people. And you went on Bigger Pockets, man, and you were just open and you said, hey, here's my experience in real estate. And, it didn't go so well. Do you mind kind of just giving us some of the highlights of your experience that you shared with them there?
Yeah. At one point, I had reached 250 grand of equity between 5 properties. I was riding high on my ego. Man, I'm an all-star, baby. I'm an all-star. And by the time I closed those 2 deals, I was down to about 60 grand. So the real loss was probably about whatever that comes out to, 190 of equity. So essentially what happened is I bought 2 flips in Cincinnati, over-leveraged myself to the crazy tilt, and took crazy risk, and it didn't work out. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for the for the worst. But anyway, yeah. So I had a first flip. I thought everything was going correctly. I trusted the lender who was sending an inspector to the property, $150 each time for the inspector to go to inspect the property and release funds for the draw. I trusted them. I thought their interests were aligned with mine, but I found out the hard way at the end of the project that the inspector was actually just going to figure it out if the work had been completed, but not if the work was up to a standard to be able to sell the property. So this whole out-of-state investing, out-of-state investing is risky. Everyone talks about it, but the real risk is just not having someone there that you trust. And I just put trust in the wrong people. It's all good. My responsibility. And essentially at the end of the project, I found out that the work was done very poorly, poor enough that there was no chance of being able to sell it. And so I had to, after 8 months of rehab, I basically had to borrow money from my parents, take money and send it over to that first house to basically get it up to sellable quality, which even at that point was not a quality that would be classified as top tier. It was just sellable.
So it's kind of like what we talked about before is like there's all these, you watch these shows, like particularly flip or flop. The show, I can tell you how the show goes, right? Each one is, man, this is they end up getting this deal and it's like in a terrible condition, and then something happens like, oh my gosh, we are going to lose money on this deal. This is going to be the worst flip we ever had, and the guy's just wigging out. But then somehow, right, everything comes together and they end up making a huge profit. Time for the next house. I mean, I'm waiting to see a flop. I'm seeing our flips. So it's good to hear true stories. Like real estate can be a great avenue, but there's going to be bumps in the road.
Yeah. So, 2 things. One, when you kind of put yourself out there and talk about a story where you lose money, it attracts that in the sense that people will reach out and go, hey man, I appreciate you saying that because I had the same experience. You'll find that a lot of people have that same experience. And 2, I actually criticize the flip or flop people on my YouTube channel in that this is such a poor way for people to get into the industry, because the show, they rode probably the biggest gold rush possibly that we'll ever see. 2010 to 2020, Southern California real estate. Has there ever been a gold rush like that? And if you watch them, if you actually look at I analyzed one of the deals, so sample bias for sure, but this seemed to indicate a common theme throughout the show. Their numbers were so off. The one episode I criticized, they bought it, let's just call it, they were all in at like 540 expected. The rehab, okay, let me backtrack. They were thinking of selling a property, let's just use simple numbers, selling for 550, rehab and everything, they were going to be all in at like 490, 500. Well, come to find out at the end, they're like, man, the rehab went way over budget. We were all in at 560. That would bankrupt most beginning investors. When you have to sell a $550,000, take out closing costs, all of that, you're all in at 560. I mean, you're talking about 40, 50 grand of loss. And then at the end, they're like, oh, buyers came in and bought it for 640. We made 60 grand. It's like, are you kidding me? If anyone, number one, they don't show all the numbers. They don't show any type of financing costs. They don't show any type of holding costs, taxes, insurance, holding. They don't go into any of the actual details. What were the marketing costs for finding the property? If this is how beginners enter into the marketplace, they will all get wiped out. You simply cannot miss numbers that bad. And for whatever reason, they escaped because, well, actually, I could tell you the reason is because in Southern California, these people were buying, if it's worth 550 in December, by June, it's worth 640.
Yeah, there was no value add. It was just the market conditions at the time, right?
Exactly. It just seemed to be very common on those shows. That's why you got to be very careful.
Man, I love the YouTube channel, and I want to get to it, right? So if we could back up real quick, because you got a lot of really good things going there, but I want to kind of finish with that one if we can. I was going to jump back, and what I want to touch on is kind of stepping out from kind of a W-2 job, right? You stepped into real estate, kind of that entrepreneurial mindset, dude, and you got beat up, right? And how was that just mentally to kind of go through that, right? And where are you at now? Like, kind of the big takeaway is kind of the mental fortitude it took to get through that. And are you done with real estate, or are you going to continue on?
The most challenging time of my life, I had to ride the bus 2 hours to work and 2 hours from work to my W-2 job. It was really challenging because while at work, I could not give any indication that I was struggling. So I had to play like a two-face, where when I showed up to work, everything's fine. I had to be very focused. My job does require mental work. It's within software development, which at times can be very challenging mentally. And so there were times where I'd have my contractor call me. I'd have to step in the other room and hey, we need 7,500 more for this. And I just have to walk back in the room, and it's like, I just have to pretend like nothing's going wrong. I didn't want anyone to know about it. It was very challenging. There were many nights where I couldn't sleep. There were many moments where I had no idea how I'd get out. I had money from my parents that I was borrowing. I had 4 max credit cards, and I didn't have enough money for shoes. So my shoes were getting torn out. Like, I didn't have enough money for shoes. And so it's just a matter of, you just take it. I had days where I could only afford peanut butter sandwiches, and I could only afford rice for lunch. So that's what I was eating. It really didn't bother me because I knew at the time that most of the best stories of success, you have that moment, right? The Rock always talks about, he got off the bus one time and had $7, became his production company's name. And many people's success stories come from some like rock bottom moment. And so at the time, it's like, it sucks. There were so many nights where I just wanted to escape. It was like I was in a mental prison that I couldn't escape. But I knew that at some point this experience was going to pay off. So I was like, I just got to get through it. It's going to suck. I'm going to lose all my money. At this point, money's irrelevant, the amount of money I'm going to lose. I just need to get out and move on. Thankfully, I was able to do that. Very, very thankful. To add to the stress, I finally reached the point of being able to sell both properties, and then the health pandemic hit. And so I have this like 18 months of stress, of just insane stress, and like just get to the finish line. And so I get to the first house, we're under contract. It gets delayed to close. So we're at a 45-day close. It gets delayed to close 2 weeks because of issues with the appraiser. So I'm stressing out from that. And then the other house is now almost done. And I'm like, I finally got to the finish line, but now we have Ohio shutting down. Like, what happens if you can't go view house? So I'm thinking, like, I just need to get out. I can't eat until I get out. Thankfully, I'm very, very thankful that I was able to escape. And you asked about real estate. No, this is just the start. Money is just a number on a screen. Like, the amount of money I lost is irrelevant. I'm all about playing the game. This is just the start.
Hey, Spencer, and I hope I'm not getting too personal, but you can't afford shoes. You're riding the bus. Many people would be like, hey, Pops, or, call Mom. Mom's more of a softie.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, I can't afford shoes, and all I'm eating is rice. Like, why didn't you just call? Why didn't you reach out to family for help?
I had already borrowed money. Already borrowed money, so that was part of it. Another thing is, like, I'm a big fan of responsibility. Like, I take big risks. I'm a big risk taker. At times, there's going to be times where it pays off so much that I'm going to be worth a lot of money one day, right? And it's because I take risks. But at the same time, I've got to be able to be responsible for the risks I take that don't pay out. So part of it is, in order to have a learning lesson, you got to have those moments where you just eat poo. Like the worst, like, to me, that's like getting bailed out. That's like these companies right now that made terrible decisions, did the whole corporate buybacks, leverage themselves, and then they get the cloud landing, right? It's like, oh, the government will come in and save you. You don't learn anything from that. So even in that moment, I was like, you know what? This is on me. This is my responsibility. I made these decisions. It wouldn't really teach me a lesson if I could always get bailed out.
Have you read Anti-Fragile?
Nassim, yeah.
Yeah. So the scenario of the mental state that you're just describing to me reminded me of that book. And for our listeners, is essentially the idea is needing some pressure or stress to become better, right? Not just withstand it, but to become better. And so the mindset that you were just describing to me reminded me of that book, is because, man, you were in there and you were under this pressure and stress, but you understood that you needed that to kind of grow and to get better, essentially. But I was going to say too is, man, for a lot of people, whether it's real estate or anything else, man, the unknown is like the scariest part that's out there. and you just walk through it, right? Right? Your shoes were, you're burning through your shoes. You're walking to the bus stop, man. You're like, I've been there. I know what it's like. It's not scary.
Very
Right?
much so. Yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
great learning lesson because I think with real estate investors, especially those that got in the market around when I did, 2015 to 2018, there's this elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Oh man, my uncle lost money in '08. Oh man, is the market going to crash? And there's this big elephant that's like, what does it look like? There's a fear. Should I buy now? Is it scary to buy now? Because what if '08 comes back? And then you lose everything and you're like, oh yeah, that quote in Fight Club really rings true. It's not after you lose everything that you're free to do anything. Once you lose it, you just go, all right, pick myself back up and move on.
Man, I love that. That's awesome. So
And to add real quick, I also think that just the way the world works, if you're a good person and you're pursuing success in whatever ways, you're doing it ethically and you're always looking to learn, you do things in the right way, like the world just works out long term. It just does. It always will. You're going to get slapped around a little bit, but
so right, you kind of went to, sorry, I was just getting back on track there. So Spencer, so you kind of got beat up there. Now you're back into it, and you had mentioned that you're going to continue with real estate. Is there anything specific area that you're looking at now, or what's your next move?
I have found a couple partners in Cincinnati.
Okay.
My whole goal, and the reason why I took on so much risk, my goal is just establishing a team, especially in a place like Cincinnati, investing in that team and letting the system work itself. And so the goal is to find someone that can find deals, an investor that I trust, that I want to partner with in 50-50 in whatever way that looks like, whether money, deals, whatever. Finding a lender that I can work with. I'm an agent in Ohio, so I can actually sell the properties. If I don't want to do that, I at least have a brokerage that can help out. And so I kind of have all of the elements working out. My biggest mistake was not partnering with someone on those deals, because you've got to be able to go to the property. It's been said so much, I was so dumb. I trusted the lender's inspector, but I really needed an investor that I trusted. And I think by partnering up with someone, especially if we both have skin in the game, another Nassim reference, then I think the chance of success is much higher. So what I'll be doing is I have one picked out, a partner that picked out up in Cincinnati that I really believe in. And I'll basically rely on him. He's going out and finding deals right now. He can handle contractors, and he knows the market extremely well. And so the goal is just, hey man, whatever you want to do, I'm your partner. I trust you. I believe in you. Let's do it together.
Man, I love the fact, right, that you're continuing on. You got beat up, but you're still going to go. I was going to transition to kind of the YouTube. When did you start your YouTube channel and creating videos? What was the timeline there?
January 2015. If you go back and want to watch a really corny video, I made a Subway cookie video with the girl I was kind of seeing at the moment. Yeah, it was just silly. I knew the value of YouTube back in 2013. I was watching these guys. I used to be in the pickup community where you like go out and pick up chicks. And I was watching these guys put out videos on YouTube where they were just walking up to girls and picking up girls. I was like, I do that too. Now they were a lot more creative, but I saw how quickly you could grow. And then as the years went on, I'm like, man, this is really a platform where you can grow an audience. So I bought a camera, and in 2015, I tried to do fitness videos, which were not good. and then I did videos about my coding boot camp, which didn't really exist, and I got a little attention. I got a few videos that reached 1,000 views, which if you ever put your stuff on YouTube, you know that when you haven't done that before, 1,000 views is a big deal. And then it kind of petered out a little bit. I didn't really have much to talk about. I didn't have any subscribers, and I didn't really feel like I could do it. And so come November of 2019, when I'm in the middle of this flipping madness of just nothing going on, I'm like depressed out of my mind. All I'm doing is watching Netflix. And I'm just like, man, I need to keep making YouTube videos. Like I need something to take my mind off this real estate mess. And so I came across this channel, CoffeeZilla, he was making really good videos about fake gurus. And I saw a couple of them and I was like, man, some of these gurus just rub me the wrong way. I don't feel like there's substance there. And so I started making videos about these gurus, and that's when it took off.
I was curious on the timeline because you just mentioned it as you started in 15 and then you kind of went after it in 19 as you're kind of going through all this stuff. And really, I guess I'm assuming here, but the YouTube videos are more kind of a creative outlet for you as you're going through this stressful time, right?
100%. The goal was to make real estate videos, but I couldn't really make real estate videos when, hey, here's how to do a terrible deal. So I needed something else. It just worked, like most things in life, it just kind of, it's like a bowling lane when you're bowling, right? You just kind of bounce it off the sides before you find the pins eventually. It just kind of becomes what it becomes.
So catch us up to date now as far as kind of the YouTube channel and where you're at, right? You got kind of restarted in 19, and now what are you looking at?
The channel has grown a lot. So I just surpassed 32,000 subscribers.
Dude,
And
congrats.
almost like 99% of them have come in the last 7 or 8 months. So it's been quite rapid growth,
Dang.
which is nice to
What
see. A lot of people seem to like it.
Sorry to jump in there. What do you attribute that growth to?
The key with YouTube is there's like 3 principles. You have to find a niche where there isn't much competition. You have to find a niche, that same niche, where there's an audience. And you need to make quality videos that people want to keep seeing. And I think if you want to add a 4th one, I think why my engagement's so high and the growth has been pretty rapid is there's an element of curiosity about what's next. So what's really challenging about certain brands, like this is what Bigger Pockets faces right now. They have 540,000 subscribers on their YouTube, but their engagement's terrible. I mean, they get 1%. One number to look at is views to sub ratio. They get maybe 1% on a lot of their videos, meaning 5,000 views to 500,000 subscribers, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm getting 10% within a day. So on 32,000, I'm getting upwards of 3,000 or more views in a day to give you a reference. And so I think what a lot of channels struggle with is when it's real estate, you kind of get in the moment. And then after a couple months, you're like, I've kind of seen it all. I've heard the stories. And you might stay subscribed out of loyalty, but you don't really follow the next video because it's another guy who got 500 units in 32 days, right? But my channel is all about showing and exposing a lot of unethical practices in business. And I think a lot of people stay because who's next, right?
Spencer,
who's going to be next?
What I would add, because I think when the first time I heard your content is when we're doing some research on velocity banking.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That was the first video that I saw of yours. But
my most disliked video.
It's what?
The lowest like to dislike video.
Is it really?
Yeah. I think a lot of the velocity bankers got a little upset.
The velocity, there's a very passionate fan base of that, which I saw coming out on some of those comments. But we're still doing some research because velocity banking, that's because it's becoming more popular right now. Why? I don't know, but
now is literally the worst time to ever do it.
Right? Exactly. Do you want to give Spencer maybe a brief overview of what velocity banking is?
Yeah. Now, I should say I'm not an expert and I haven't researched the materials in so long. So I'll leave more macro level. My understanding is it's essentially recycling money. You're taking long-term debt and paying it off with short-term debt and then replenishing that short-term debt with cash. And it works, right? There's no secret. I think a lot of people got upset because they seem to think my video is about it not working. The strategy works. But all you're doing is you have this great long-term debt. And people seem to get so fixated on the interest that oh my God, you're going to pay $78,970 over 30 years in interest. Oh my gosh, you need to pay it off right away. But they're forgetting the opportunity cost of your money. Like, why are you paying down 3.5% interest rate? You want to I want to accumulate as many properties at that interest rate. And what that community doesn't seem to ever talk about, and the reason why I made the video, is risk. When you're according to all the videos I saw, so I basically just made videos on the videos I saw, and then people seem to criticize me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, apparently the people making the videos don't know what they're talking about. So essentially what you have is you've got a credit card, a HELOC, and your cash from your job or whatever. And you put all your personal expenses on the credit card. You use the HELOC to pay down your mortgage 10 grand at a time. And then you slowly pay that HELOC off with the money coming in from your job. And then when you reach zero, you then pay 10 grand towards your mortgage. And you do that over 5 years and you pay off the mortgage. But they just don't talk about all of the risks involved. When things go well, all these strategies work. But what happens when they don't?
Well, to me, what it was, and this is what I got, this is kind of where we're sitting at, is I do think velocity banking works. I don't think somebody could, it's to deny it, but the question is, should you do it? Right?
I don't think so.
we're taking a debt that is historically the lowest interest rates. In fact, my son is closing on his house today. He's got a 30-year fixed at 2.75.
What?
Get out of here.
I said,
Dang.
and at one point they wanted to put down 20% down, and I slapped him in my mind, right? I'm like, you got to change your thinking. What about that opportunity cost? It's such a low rate and it's tax deductible. I mean, take that down payment and put in a down payment on a rental property or an
depending
asset.
on where you're at, 3% over time is a general rule of thumb of appreciation. Like you're basically getting free money.
Exactly.
Great point.
Yeah, there's so many, and also let's say you do pay off that mortgage. Great. All right, so your house is paid off. That's $3,000 or $300,000 or whatever it is. But how are you going to access it?
Right.
You're going to have to ask permission to access it. Like I think.
Well, and you can't get the full borrowing either, because you can't just go say, "Hey, 240,000 line of credit." Well, they're going to look at your debt to income and go, "No. I can't give you a 240,000 line of credit." Right. So you might only still be able to pull out 80 of it based on your borrowing credentials.
Exactly. And banks only want to loan you money when you don't need it. Right. Yep. So somebody has that house paid off. They're like, oh man, whether there's an opportunity or maybe an emergency, if it's an emergency, the banks are not going to loan it to you. So right. we're going to be doing more on the velocity banking. But part of my long-winded point was, Spencer, what I liked about your YouTube channel was you weren't selling anything.
It's very enjoyable to be able to make videos when you have nothing to sell. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why people enjoy my channel is because I'm not controlled by anyone or anything. I don't have any image to protect. I don't have any brand to build. All my money is in real estate. Like my goal is to build a real estate company. So like if I come on and talk about how much money I lose, it's irrelevant to me because I'm not trying to sell you some success brand. And a lot of these gurus, it's all about how successful you are, the successful businesses I run, because I eventually want you to buy the course, and you're not going to buy a course from a guy that loses money. And so I think a lot of people enjoy just the honesty and transparency, which is sad to me that people always comment to me or compliment me on my transparency. It's like, this is how it should be. I should not be an outlier, right? It's like, it's more of a stab at society as a whole, or the YouTube community.
Yeah, when honesty and transparency is the exception.
Yeah, it's like, man, you're building a following because you're transparent. It's like, this is incredible, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, what's been some of your highest ranked videos so far?
My fourplex video, I think, is closing in on 300,000 views.
Okay.
Wow.
And then the video on Dan Locke I made, the part 1, is 250 or 275,000. Yeah, it just starts building, man. Some of these videos just build and build and build, and over time they just keep accumulating.
Dude, I like it. I saw the video you did on, amongst others, the video you did. Eminem taught me about marketing. Yeah,
you know what's funny? So the real game you're playing with YouTube is you take a bunch of swings, right? You get up to the plate, and there are some videos where I make that it's like a home run swing, and I might only hit a single, but that one was one. I thought that one could be one that took off, and what I mean by took off is 250,000 views in a month kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't perform nearly as well as I thought, but I actually really enjoyed that video. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was great. I could see how that one might come back up or just kind of continue to plug along and get some views and then catch fire.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't explain that. You want to give like the theme or the summary
of the video?
Yeah. Yeah.
That video. So Eminem made a video or a movie titled 8 Mile, which is kind of about his life. And at the end of the movie, he's got this rap battle against his enemy, his arch nemesis, and basically destroys him throughout what is called freestyle rapping in a contest, right? And I basically broke down that freestyle and related it to marketing and sales and how there are a lot of great marketing and sales elements in that freestyle. So I kind of combined 2 different niches, which by the way is kind of a strategy to growing any type of like YouTube, is if you can take 2 unique niches, combine them together, it kind of creates a unique video that no one would think of.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thanks for explaining freestyle rap to Anthony.
Yeah, if you ever find yourself in a freestyle battle venue, Maybe you'll understand.
Well, I'll call you if I'm going to be.
Just put your hands up and yell.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Are you promoting anything right now? What can you kind of tease us with? You got another video that you're going to be working on here soon?
Man, I do videos every single day. I release one every other day. It's a grind.
How long does it take?
It's a grind. Man, funny enough, the last video I released was the process. It's all I do. It's hard to say how much time. It's like, I think it's Hutchinson's law, where the project will take as much time as you allot. And so I usually finish like 11:30 the night before. But yeah, this is all I do pretty much all day for 2 days. And then I release it and then I start over.
Awesome, man. Well, I got to tell you, we're definitely huge fans. I am fans. We are fans of entrepreneurs. And I love watching somebody kind of step out, get beat up a little bit, kind of change direction, and just have tremendous success. So congratulations.
Thanks, man. Next time I'm on the podcast, we'll be able to talk about some successful real estate deals. Hopefully.
Actually,
no doubt. I'm sure of it.
I'm kind of curious. I know we started talking about YouTube, but what are you looking at real estate wise? Where are you focusing?
Right now, I am accumulating cash for the next couple months. I am debt free, but I'm down to about 4,000 in cash. And so I'd like to get to about 20,000 in cash before I look to make my next deal. That would put me around end of September, around there. And at that time, I will be linking up with my partner in Cincinnati, and whatever he wants to do, he's taking the lead.
So you're looking flips or buying holds?
Oh, sorry. Should have explained better. Yeah. Whatever he wants to do. And right now he is taking on flips. So if he finds deals where he believes the numbers make more sense for flips, we'll do that. Ideally, long-term, I'd do rehab and holds. I don't ever anticipate doing any buy and holds. I also, at the same time, at some point in 2021, I would like to buy more deals here in Vegas, like 5-bed houses in nicer neighborhoods and rent by the room. I think that's a strategy that's going to cash flow. I think it's open right now. I think there's a couple year span where it's gold rush.
So you live in Las Vegas and you're investing in Ohio.
Correct.
Can you explain why and what are some of the challenges?
Ohio is much easier barrier to entry because you have a much lower price point. If you want to do rehabs, it's much easier on your cash position. So that is probably the biggest advantage. It's also a market where there's less competition. I like that it's very stable as well. As history has shown, it maintains stability throughout rough times, which my biggest fear of getting into real estate was just mistiming the market and getting in and Las Vegas drops like it has before. And so those are the biggest advantages. The biggest struggles are just not being there and not knowing the market. And so that's why I'm all about partnerships from here on out. I would like to become independent to the point where I can take on deals myself, but partnerships are the way to go. And so I'd like to pursue that.
Now, what advice would you give somebody who's just getting into the real estate business?
Partner with someone on your first deal. I think if you're getting into rehabs, regardless of your experience, just partner with someone. Find someone who's done a couple deals ahead of you. Go find one. Tell them you'll offer some type of value proposition, whether you bring the money or 50-50 money or you handle something. I think that's the way to go. I just think what's so difficult about rehab projects is you can read all the books in the world, but you can't know what to do until you actually do it. There's something about flipping where you just can't, there's no college for it. You can't learn until you get into it, in my opinion.
So you're saying the reason to flip the reason to get the partner may not necessarily be for financial to use their funds, but it's to use their experience.
100%.
Perfect.
100%.
Okay.
There's just so much you can't know. Like when you're first starting out, you can read all the books. You can understand that there needs to be a new roof and all that. I just think having someone that's done it before will help guide you. I mean, just think about it like this. If a project can go from 6 months to 4 months, that's 2 months of holding costs. I mean, that partner could save you thousands on your first deal. And there's a new confidence that you get, from doing a deal yourself. It's like, okay, I can kind of see how it works.
Awesome, man. Thanks a ton. Really appreciate you having us. Guys, go check him out on his YouTube channel, Spencer Cornelia. I think his subtitle is I Make Dope Videos.
Guru Killer.
Guru Killer. Perfect. Thanks, Spencer. Appreciate you being on.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, guys.